When you play the Game of Thrones,
Subscribe and like.
you die. There is no middle ground.
All right, hello YouTube. Welcome back to the Grease Goblins YouTube channel. Today's video, we're going to be doing a kind of classic Q&A type Winds of Winter type video. We're going to be talking about Jamie Lannister in the Winds of Winter. So if you do ever want to participate in videos like this, I do usually post a community post giving you guys the freedom to post any topics or questions you want me to talk about in the video. Didn't put an Instagram post out this time just because I was trying to get this video recorded, and so I didn't want to wait a bunch of days for it. So yeah, and you guys had a lot to ask anyway, so I feel like we have a good mix of questions. So the first question that I got was from Bear for Fun. Great name. But also, you ask how he would deal with Lady Stoneheart. I think this is a good establishing question because in reality, that's going to be the beginning for Jamie. How is he going to deal with Lady Stoneheart? Now, again, I don't think anything Jamie says is going to matter. I think Jamie is going to be in a situation in which he is a complete hostage to Catelyn or Stoneheart. And so I think Jamie's role will be that he is basically used for this revenge red wedding. He's going to be used as maybe an in or telling them information about how best to concoct their plan. I think he inevitably will survive. I think that this is not where his story ends. But the question is, how does he then get out of being killed by the Brotherhood without banners? And I think it makes the most amount of sense for Lady Stoneheart to be taken out of the equation by Arya, and then with the Brotherhood not knowing necessarily what to do with Jamie, he gets a trial by combat, and Brienne is the one that steps up to fight for him instead. Brienne, pretty great fighter in her own right. I think that would make a lot of sense. It would give us some explanation as to how Jamie gets out of this situation. You could also see a shift in tone from the Brotherhood. The Brotherhood is, I would assuming by the end of the book, going to be changing their ways, right? They've been motivated by vengeance and revenge. I think with Stoneheart being taken out in the next book, it can help set that path to getting back to what they were supposed to be, protecting the innocent and the weak and things like that. And so I think it would be a good way to go out with kind of Brienne, kind of a parallel to when Jamie saves Brienne in that bear pit. It would kind of be the opposite now. Brienne putting her life on the line to save Jamie. I think that would be a really nice parallel, would develop their relationship really well. I think that's how Jamie more or less is going to deal with Stoneheart. I don't think he has a lot of wiggle room, but I do think that he will actually survive. PK asks a number of questions, and so I'm going to answer as many as I can. You did ask a lot of questions, and so I want to focus on a lot of other people's questions as well. But I think, answering your question that I kind of already talked about, but to which extent is Jamie involved in the Red Wedding 2.0? Jamie at this point would likely not be okay with that. So the issue is going to be, it's going to be a situation kind of like how Brienne was. If he doesn't cooperate, well, okay, he's going to be killed. Now, maybe you could say the trial by combat occurs here, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think that Lady Stoneheart is going to basically hold Brienne's life over him, right? If he doesn't obey, well, then they'll kill Brienne and Podrick in front of him. Kind of the same stakes that Brienne had, the reason she had to go get Jamie in the first place. I think that's going to be applied to Jamie here as well. And that's the reason that I think that maybe he won't necessarily be exactly complicit in it, but he'll have to give up information that will greatly help Lady Stoneheart in the Brotherhood. But I do think that's a great point, right? That Jamie is not somebody at this time that would be willing to just, backstab part of his family. David Lannister, the character we meet in A Feast for Crows, one of the more likable Lannisters, in my opinion, a great character, would be somebody that would probably die because of this revenge red wedding, a character that I think George would specifically make sure does die because we'd feel a lot of sympathy for him. He isn't somebody that was involved in the Red Wedding or anything like that, and he would probably be getting brutally killed in this. And so I do agree to your extent, PK, but I do think Jamie still will be forced to be involved. Chrissy asks, how do you think his perspective on Tyrion, Cersei, and Brienne, respectively, change over the course of this book? So that's a great question, because the issue with Tyrion is Jamie still, I don't think, will interact with Tyrion in Winds of Winter. So if you want to go further and look at a book like A Dream of Spring, I think Jamie and Tyrion will become a bit more understanding of each other. And I think that's something that Jamie is going to have to be forced to think about, the circumstances of why Tyrion does the actions that he will. And so I think that will be something that he does play with in his mind, but I think this book is going to be much more focused on Cersei, right? How is his relationship with her going to continue to transform? I personally believe that Jaime's arc is headed back to Casterly Rock with Cersei. I believe that Jaime will be the one that ends up killing her, and so I could easily see a scenario in which he is pulled back to her one last time. Now, the thing is with that is going to be, I don't know how much of Jaime we're necessarily going to see in this book. I would expect him to be a decent focus within the first half of the book with the Brotherhood plotline, but after that, if he does end up going to go to Cersei, well, the issue is going to be one, Cersei probably by, again, 3/4 of the book will be maybe fleeing to Casterly Rock. So what does Jaime do there, right? Because Jaime also has to, hopefully, you would assume, go find the Lannister army, rally that army. Then does he take that army to Casterly Rock because Cersei's already heading there? Do they maybe meet up with her as she's retreating to the Riverlands over land? Does she take the naval route to Casterly Rock, maybe intercepted by Euron? There's a lot to question about the character of Jaime and what he's going to be thinking. But I think for him personally, he knows that there's some unresolved business with Cersei and what she's kind of been doing that I think that will have to be resolved within the last two books. And then lastly, on the character of Brienne, I don't know how I feel about Brienne and Jaime because I know so many people think romantically that they are going to get involved that way. And I do think it's weird because I think that they've hovered between being good friends and also romantic interest. And so I think that if in a scenario like I've presented here where there is a trial by combat and Brienne is the one that steps up for Jaime, I think it could go a long way in cementing that relationship, right? Brienne is somebody that would also be kind of almost atoning for lying to Jaime. Now we know why Brienne lies. It's to save, her own life and Podrick's life, of course. But it is something that Jaime might be questioning. Brienne pulled him into this plot that easily could get him killed, all of those things. So I think there's going to be a lot of conflicting emotions that Jaime could be feeling with the character of Brienne, right? Because Jaime himself is the person that tasked Brienne with finding Sansa and Arya and all that. And so because of that, it led Brienne down this path where she's been mutilated, right? She's had part of her face eaten, specifically her cheek. She's someone that was almost put to death by Stoneheart because of kind of the Lannister equipment that she has. I think there's going to be a really complex relationship between the two, and I think that there's a lot that George can play around with. I think one of the most interesting parts about Winds of Winter is the Riverland plot, because I think it, of course, is one of the more personal areas of Westeros where we're focused in on people and the horrors that they go through. And you think about what Jaime and Brienne have gone through, what the Brotherhood's transformation has gone through. Lady Stoneheart, I believe Arya will have a huge influence in the Riverland plotline. There's just so much going on there that I think is really going to be interesting to digest. So let's kind of then move it to where I have a lot of questions about, and most of this is focusing on Jaime and his relationship with Cersei and how that goes down. So I do believe that, again, a number of you guys asked about the valonqar prophecy. So I do want to throw those kind of up on screen. I know Ashley asked about it. I believe PK asked about it. So a lot of people asked, again, where is he going in the story? Ryan asked about that. So I'll have, everybody that is, asking about that on screen here. And I've always believed that Jaime is the valonqar because I think it's poetically, it makes the most amount of sense. Cersei, her whole life, believing that Tyrion was this person, and it's led her to do so many actions believing Tyrion killed Joffrey, and it's Cersei fulfilling her own prophecy of turning everyone against her. Jaime, this person that Cersei used to have probably the most amount of faith in. A lot of the reasons because Cersei kind of viewed Jaime almost as a reflection of herself, the closest thing to herself. Jaime, in a lot of ways, in my opinion, is what Cersei wishes that she could be, like looking how Jaime looks, being a man. And so I think that Jaime finally, he's already kind of broken away from her at the end of A Feast for Crows, but it's going to be almost like that final part of it, right? And it has, again, this reflection of what you would think about with King Aerys, right? Cersei and Aerys have a lot of similarities. And so I think that it would parallel really well, where Jaime has to once again, save the people of Westeros from an evil kind of dictator in Cersei and have it be even more personal. And especially when you think about Brienne, somebody that knows the truth behind those things, I think, when we get to a question like Sasquatch asks, will he be remembered as a kingslayer, or Golden Hand the Just? One of the things that I think will reflect on Jaime more positively will be how he's remembered because of people like Brienne, spreading that information, giving us the reasoning behind why Jaime does certain things. And so I think Jaime will be the person that kills Cersei in a very similar vein of like Aerys when he dies at the end of Robert's Rebellion. I do think that's going to be fascinating to see how George plays with Jaime's legacy. Will he be this person that is unjustly hated by history, the person that not only killed one ruler, but also a second ruler and his sister? I think that's a really great idea. I don't think any of that's going to happen until A Dream of Spring, just based upon how much has to happen with Cersei's plotline as a whole. Mac asks, who do you think will kill Jamie Lannister in the end, and why will it be Bricks with a Euron assist? And then on the serious note, will Jaime fight in the War of the Dawn in the books? I do think that Jaime will be involved in fighting the war with the others. I think that makes a lot of sense in my opinion. I do think that Jaime is in a tough position because I think he dies killing Cersei. I'm just not sure how he specifically dies. I don't know if it's because he's injured, it's kind of similar to the way the show did it, and he kills Cersei and maybe like they die together. Maybe Arya comes and finishes Jaime, but I don't know how that would work because for me, I have Arya kind of going on a different arc, right, of vengeance not being the thing. So maybe Arya kills Jaime to fulfill his identity and then kills Cersei. That's also been a proposed theory. I think Jaime does die, though, by the end. He is a character that, to me, is destined to die. Xavier asks, will Jaime and Tyrion see each other again? And if so, what will happen? How do they reconcile and react to what has happened since Jaime saved Tyrion? I think it's going to be one of these things where it just seems like two people that need to air out their grievances and understand why the other person did the thing that they did, right? So Jaime's major offense is he lied about the whole Tysha thing, something that was deeply impactful to Tyrion. And I think Jaime, his rationale is going to be, he didn't expect that it was going to be that serious for Tyrion. Like, he didn't realize that Tyrion was truly, in love with Tysha. He thought it was just this, it's this first, fling, or Tyrion having sex for the first time. Like, I think that's what he thought. And also his responsibilities and loyalties to his father. I think that there will be some understanding there between the characters of Tyrion and Jaime. But on Tyrion's side, killing Tywin, he also suggests that he did kill Joffrey to Jaime. I think there's just going to be some clearing up that has to happen. I think that Jaime, one, will come to find out that Tyrion did not kill Joffrey, of course. But then the other part of it is why Tyrion kills Tywin, because of all the traumatic things that he's done to Tyrion. And I don't think that they'll ever, be the same like they were before the Tysha reveal, how close they were before. But I think the characters will come to an understanding of each other before Jaime dies in the story. That's what I expect to happen with those two characters. PK does ask a couple questions as well as I wanted to address, especially about going north. I don't think Jaime goes north until he at least meets Cersei once again. I think that there's still some unresolved conflict between the two. I don't think that that's going to happen until maybe after Cersei and Jaime have another maybe falling out. Then he goes to help the living, and then on the way, their last meeting will be him kind of killing her. I don't think that he will find out about Robb's will and crown Jon. That doesn't really fit his character, in my opinion. And I don't think that he will die fighting the others. Paul, I don't remember if I answered your question specifically. I've kind of danced around kind of Jaime's ending for this book, but for Winds of Winter, I believe Jaime will be with Cersei again. I think that they have unresolved conflict, and so we need to see more of that, and especially because Jaime will be at the head of the Lannister army. There's still more that has to happen there, specifically. And you got to think about them being pushed out of King's Landing. Stuff it still has to happen before we can get to the stuff with the others for the Lannister crew. But thank you guys all for watching. I hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys all in the next Winds of Winter video or Song of Ice and Fire video. Bye, guys.